We're here today with Esteban de la Sancha. That's kind of what we want to talk about today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is your pool story.
Framing the pool, you get more familiar with the plans than anybody else does. I want to make sure that I'm delivering you a product that has all of my effort put into it. You learn so much in your first year of college in architecture. One of our professors, she would tear your plans apart when you made them. And what do I know more than anything in this world is pool.
All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of Denali's Deep Dive Podcast. We're here today with Esteban de la Sancha.
Yes, sir.
He is, Esteban's been here several years now, I think over 3 with us here at Denali, but that's kind of what we want to talk about today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is your pool story, your pool designer, pool construction story,
Yep.
and how you came to be here at Denali.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm glad to be here. It's an awesome team. I don't see myself anywhere else, and I love it. But yeah, I mean, it's such a well balanced career for me. I think it's in the field equally as much as it is being creative as an outlet. We get to sit down and really we have all full creative control on how these pools look. We design it and then it gets built and it's awesome. But going back a little bit, it all started with my dad's business. He did excavation for basically all the swimming pools in the Austin area, and so we did hundreds of pools. We did the excavation all the way to the steel, and in that, we had to get so familiar with the plans.
Yeah.
And so seeing 10 sets of plans every week, I got so familiar with what a raised bond beam looks
Right.
like, how much it is, scaling it, pulling it, and I would see so many designs, and I would keep some of them. I would keep them just to have. I never did anything with them, but I would look at them and just kind of study them. And so from a pretty early age, I'd say starting at like 13, I would look at those because I would go with my dad to go drop off materials, go talk to the guys, get familiar with the business, and it was always, once I started framing, which is kind of the grunt level of excavation, they get you on the framing, right?
Yeah.
You get all the tools, go get the saw from the truck, and so doing that, framing the pool, you get more familiar with the plans than anybody else does.
Yeah.
Because once the gunite guys come in, the pool's already there. Steel guys come in, the pool's already there. So essentially, I always said the framers are the most important part of the construction because they set the baseline.
Of course, that's what you said, right? Because that's what you were
doing.
maybe today you feel like the designer's the most important guy, right?
Right, exactly, and that's true. But yeah, and so I got so familiar with the plans that whenever it was time to sign up to go to college, I only had one thing in mind, and so that for me had leveled up to be architecture because in my head, architects deal with plans, blueprints, and stuff like that. So I went to school for architecture, eventually switched over to computer science, but you learn so much in your first year of college in architecture. They teach you, they open your mind and they kind of break you out of that box. They say how to think outside the box when you're looking at a house. And so I applied the same knowledge to pools, and I do that every day thinking, how can I open this box up and how can I restructure this thing given how much I know or what I learned in architecture. They teach you, positioning, and I had a teacher who she was such a stickler for the finer details. One of our professors, she would tear your plans apart when you made them. She would come in and she would kind of, maybe we saw it that way, but she would come in and if you had any sort of little kind of dead zone, she would say, "What happens in there?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." She said, "Do it again."
Yeah.
She said, "We can't have any of that. No, everything is supposed to be intentional," which I relate that to homeowners all the time. I say, this is going to be the most intentional thing ever. There's a meaning behind all of this. There isn't a corner of the pool that I don't think about. You may think this curve is for no reason, but if you look closer, it's curved to follow the tree, for example. Or this house, if you look at it, the pool is perfectly aligned with the house. It's things that I call, and it's not my original coined term, but I call it architectural integrity. I want to make sure that I'm delivering you a product that has all of my effort put into it. We're conscious of how much people are spending on these things. We want to make sure that our effort meets their importance to the project.
So you go from in the hole, right, with Dad in the Austin area, then you're framing and forming, then you go to school,
Mm-hmm.
you get out of school, and
So
what's the first thing you do?
so I get out of school, and the first thing I do is I'm just working like a day job. I'm
Yeah.
working my college job, and I'm a very hardworking person. I'm the kind of person who's looking to see where I can level up. That job was a little bit dead end. I had learned everything there was to learn in the manual, and the bosses said, "Hey, stop applying for jobs. You're at where we want you to be," and I didn't like it. I was like, that's not going to work for me. And so I thought, I went back to my roots, and what do I know more than anything in this world is pools. I worked with my dad in pools for, from 13 even through college for, what was about over 10 years of experience in building pools. I thought, maybe it's time to really activate that and, running away from it. And so I called up my first pool company that I worked for, and I said, hey, I've built pools for you. I've done excavation for you. I've done framing for you. I'd like to, design them for you. And I didn't think anything was going to come from it. I went to work the next day, 9 to 5, didn't think about it. A couple weeks or a week later, I get a call from the owner. He said, hey, we'd love to bring you on. You have experience with us, you know the business, and went to work with them and got 2 years of experience in my belt. Um, and it was great. It was as we do every day, we learn so much every day from the industry, but I learned so much, and I was so eager to learn and apply what I learned in college and finally do what I had been doing for such a long time, essentially. In essence, I had done what I was trying to do at my last job. I'd leveled up from, the grunt work and carrying the tools to driving the truck to go get lunch for the guys to excavating the pools to now finally designing them and, applying what I know and which is my passion. I love to design pools for homeowners. So I worked up in the Belton area for about 2 years, and then I saw Denali was getting a little bit more traction. I said, hey, that, and I had heard from some people about Denali Pools, and I said, let me look into them. That sounds like I've been saying, the next step up for me.
Yeah.
And so I called the guys here at Denali, and we had an interview over the phone. Jared and I a week later, and a week after that, we were sitting down having lunch, talking. You and I even were in that conversation, and a couple weeks later, I was fortunately on the team.
So we were talking a little bit earlier. I think it's kind of, talk about full circle. Is actually when you called in, right? It was into our number that rolled to our lead line, right? That our clients call in to talk to a designer, and you talked actually to one of your cohorts.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's just so funny to think about.
Yeah,
it's
hey man, I'd love to come work for you guys. And ended up on Jared's desk, and it wasn't very much longer. We were sitting over here outside in Rudy's. I remember it was cold.
Yeah,
the fire was going outside, cold and rainy, right?
Raining,
and had the opportunity. I think it was me and you and Mitch that sat down and had that conversation that day, right? And before you know it, right, Esteban was taking calls and designing pools for Denali. Tell me a little bit about how that's been over the past. It's been 3.5 years now.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think the biggest thing that I always mention is this has been the right way to do it. It's been night and day from method, and I always talk to you guys about unlearning some things that I had learned previously. I'm like, whoa, that was bad. That was not supposed to be how you do things in design, in construction, and follow through. And coming here, it was night and day. It was so our team even early on was so put together and so organized, and there was such a clear path to take things, which was ideal for me. No, not so much freestyling things. It was like, yeah, this is the way things are done. This is the way they're supposed to be. And I thought, perfect. You just slot into the method. Some
process, some procedure, like methods, that kind of stuff.
Right.
From what I've heard, what I understand, that was as far as support and backup and follow through, you've seen both sides of that, I guess, right? You've seen things go
not
kind of wildly wrong, if we're being honest, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Both in the field and the office and that kind of stuff. But I think that serves us all well when we can see the difference between, maybe I didn't realize it at the time, but that wasn't the way the norms there weren't weren't how
Right.
the norm should have been. So I think it's good to, it all
Exactly.
serves as experience, right? Especially helping us know how to better cater to the client and
Exactly.
that kind of stuff.
A lot of it was accountability. There's so many layers of accountability that we have here that nothing slips through the cracks. Nobody just does something and then it goes unchecked. Everything is checked, and there's resources for people to reach out and say, hey, can someone check on this thing to make sure
Yeah.
I'm doing it right? And I think that was the biggest thing for me, because at my previous company, it was just me. I was the only designer, and everybody was too busy to really check on anything I was doing or anything they were doing for that matter. And it was just it was a little chaotic.
Yeah.
And then coming here, it was a breath of fresh air. Especially how big I am on accountability. It's let me know where I'm wrong. That way I can grow. As a person who always wants to grow, I I always make this kind of joke, but I like being wrong because then it lets me grow from that. I don't want to just blindly go through the world thinking I'm doing things perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. What do you see next at Denali? What do you want to do?
So my next big thing that I want is I want us to get a design award. I'm hungry for that
Yeah.
design award, the big one. I want that big showcase of, we did this pool, our team put together this amazing pool, and it's one thing that drives me a lot. I'm a big design guy. A lot of the team knows that I'm really big on design. I take a lot of steps to learn new ways to design pools. I always talk about it's my duty to stay up to date. I don't want to get into someone's backyard and design a pool that is from the 1980s, and they say, well, that I don't know if I want that. I want it to be modern or what they want it to be. So
yeah,
I think the next step for me is that I like to be challenged, and I love a challenge, and that's kind of what I go for. And yeah, just kind of getting the Denali name out there more so than we already have.
Yeah.
Where people love working with us, and I'd like for that to be even more of a household name for people.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you sharing some time with us and some of your experience, Esteban. I think 100%, it's a great addition to our team to have, folks that really understand what it is to not just design a pool, but build a pool and see how all those nuts and bolts go together. So we're excited to have you, and excited to have you for however long,
Forever.
you'll be here. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, once again, if you appreciate what we're doing here, you like hearing from folks like Esteban and our other guests, if you can just give us a like, subscribe, we've got more awesome content coming to you.